good with calculation. I handled all their investments. One big pot.
Got it.
1 minute.
Rico. If they pooled their money, we can charge them all as one criminal conspiracy.
Charge them with what?
In a Rico case, if you can charge one of the conspirators with a felony, you can charge all
of them with.
Charge them all. That was the legal breakthrough when Rachel Dawes and the DA, Harvey Dent, had the evidence in the dark night to charge a whole criminal conspiracy instead of just individuals. It's a fictional reference, but to a real law, RICO, for charging racketeer, influenced, and corrupt organizations. Congress passed it over 50 years ago to give prosecutors a better tool to prosecute the mob. And it's been used against big crime families like the Gambinos and the Genoveses. In all, 17 of the main 24 mafia families across the U.S. have at one time or another faced RICO prosecutions, according to a count by the Wall Street Journal. RICO was the strong new weapon that helped convict the elusive Gambino boss John Gotti. And this was back when mobsters were openly terrorizing neighborhoods in New York, and a brash prosecutor running the famed SDNY was taking them on. In fact, there were 4 more indictments of all the mafia bosses back then under U.S. Attorney Rudy Giuliani.
An indictment to be made public later today charges the 5 Godfathers with a racketeering conspiracy in running a criminal enterprise. Authorities call this the most important prosecution case ever brought against organized crime.
There'll be some point in the future in which we will really destroy the power of the mafia.
In just 13 hours, a federal jury in Brooklyn found Gotti guilty of murder, racketeering, and conspiracy.
John Gotti convicted here of RICO counts, including 5 murders. They carried 20 years apiece.
RICO counts, big deal. The other acts, like murder, are already, of course, crimes on the books. But RICO meant taking more people down for working together on those crimes, from top bosses to lower-level people who just take their commands. Now, RICO cases are challenging, they're complex, but they do carry that big payoff for prosecutors to crack a whole syndicate. That's how the lore and the reputation of this tool grew in popular culture, from the movies, like I just showed you, to entire songs narrating how RICO puts heat on gangsters. Meek Mill's track, RICO, contrasts the federal code of laws with the street code. He says he can't talk to the cops. That's illegal. Like Maura Rich Porter, no double crossing on my peoples. And he goes on to lament, we might just get hit with the RICO. Now, fact check, talking to cops is actually not literally illegal. It's encouraged under the law. But Meek is referencing how it feels basically illegal in the streets. And he knows what so many groups have learned, from the mafia to Hell's Angels. You don't want to be hit with the RICO. If you are, it would likely be the downfall of your entire organization. Now, this special report, with that context, is to help us understand why we're talking about this on the news and what a RICO prosecution might actually look like for the Trump organization. Because they could get hit with the RICO. I say that to you, reporting based on the evidence, the precedent, and some new clues that we have. Because the Trump organization, we know, is under criminal investigation by that same office fictionalized in Batman, by the New York DA. And it has also already tapped a mob prosecutor, hint RICO, to work the case. Now, RICO is a federal law, but New York has a similar tool for busting corrupt organizations. Some call it Little RICO. Prosecutors like it because it can be triggered by the relatively little requirement of 3 crimes, but carry a big prison sentence up to 25 years. Now, you have to prove a pattern of criminal activity, not just a single crime. But we have reports the DA is probing evidence of bank fraud, of financial deceit, tax fraud. And DA Cy Vance is the only person to actually get Trump's tax returns, so he can now compare them to test any lies or inflated values for Trump properties. Now, the other limit is time. At least 2 of the crimes for this type of prosecution must be within 5 years. Now, if the theory of the case includes any crimes done around the 2016 campaign, that deadline hits soon. And I mention the campaign not as speculation. We know the one Trump organization official who already went to prison, Michael Cohen, was convicted of an election crime for Donald Trump's benefit. So prosecutors have every reason to scour any similar violations of New York law in their work.
And I've spoken to Alan Weisselberg about how to set the whole thing up. So I'm all over that. And I spoke to Alan about it.
When that audio tape first leaked, you might have thought, who's Alan? Well, he's Alan Weisselberg, who we all know now because he's at the center of this probe. The New York Times says the top money man on that call that Cohen was referencing, the CFO, could be indicted by this summer. And that brings us to what Harvey Weinstein and Donald Trump have in common, at least according to legal experts. Because the Southern District of New York brought a RICO suit, this mafia law I'm telling you about, against Weinstein. It was a tough tactic. They ultimately won the case, although that part of it was dismissed by a judge. And we've seen this in other forums. An Olympic gymnast suing USA Gymnastics under a RICO Act over the sex abuse scandals there. And Trump himself knows how dangerous RICO can be, because even if you put this New York case aside, there's an open probe in Georgia where they're investigating Donald Trump trying to shake down the Secretary of State to, quote, find votes. And now they're working there with this prosecutor on basically a RICO theory.
Racketeering, did you say? Is this state prosecutor in Georgia really thinking about prosecuting him like a mob boss? Well, now that prosecutor has hired a racketeering expert.
What's happened in Georgia over the last couple of days, Ari, is that they've hired an outside prosecutor, an expert in racketeering, John Floyd, who literally wrote the book on prosecuting state racketeering.
A sign that racketeering may be a big part of the case against Trump and his allies.
These are just legal facts. It may sound bad or mean to talk about what Trump does as subject to a mafia racketeering case, but it's just how he's being investigated. Meanwhile, the DOJ is also considering using RICO against Trump's supporters at the January 6th insurrection. So you take that all together and you can see it's a lot, but it's not the only legal problem facing the Trump organization. Even if Donald Trump himself is not ever indicted, there is another way that prosecutors can actually indict the entire Trump org, which could bankrupt it as a corporation, sending it out of business and potentially bankrupting Donald Trump again, but in a more final way. Let me repeat that, because there's a lot going on in all these cases and the CFO. The people who know how this stuff works say it is possible, and thus bad for Trump, that this could all end with his whole company indicted at the corporate level. Now, for a prosecutor to do that, it's a high bar. It's not enough to find evidence of a single crime at the company. To indict the whole thing, it's a higher bar. And I could tell you what it requires. You have to factor in whether the company is pervasive in its wrongdoing, how deep in the organization, how long have the crimes been going on if they're found. 2, prosecutors look to the past misconduct. Is this a one-off, or has this company been faced with these kind of allegations before? 3, there's the question of harming innocent people. If a gigantic company with thousands of employees is indicted and goes out of business, how many other people lose their jobs? Now, the Trump organization is notoriously small when it comes to full-time employees. That doesn't really help them. 4, there's something called voluntary disclosure, whether a company has been upfront and tried to fix its own problems or whether it's been hiding them. Well, if there is crime at the Trump org, I can tell you they have not been turning themselves in. And 5, a word that hung over the Mueller report and Donald Trump's presidency, obstruction. He's been investigated for it numerous times, and that is another feature of what prosecutors look at when deciding whether to indict the whole company. Now, I'm telling you all this. You might say, okay, Ari, but where are these rules from? How do you know this? Whose list is this? Well, the DA holds all the cards in this probe of Trump org. And at the DA's office, they have people who advise the DA on the rules to maintain consistency. And the current DA, Cy Vance's number 2, Dan Alonzo, actually wrote the book on this. He was chief assistant DA. And what I just read to you are the exact rules from his 11-year-old memo, you could call it the Alonzo memo, that provides the standard that the DA's office is using right now as it gets up to that big call over whether to indict the whole Trump org.